Once you've learned how to make homemade short crust pastry, you'll never look back. There are hundreds of variations, like the classic Quiche Lorraine. It's a tart made with cream and bacon and sometimes cheese. What we're aiming for, as before, is a melt-in-the-mouth pastry that stays absolutely crisp on the base, but then has a lovely light wobbly filling. The tin is lined exactly as we saw before, being very careful not to stretch the pastry in any way, and the edges are trimmed neatly with a knife, like this. Then you just need to ease the pastry a little up the sides of the tin to allow for shrinkage. What you do now is prick the base all over with a fork, and the secret of success here is to freeze it for 30 minutes. The pre-freezing helps with the next stage and actually enhances the baking. Now we're going to pre-bake the frozen pastry case so that it stays crisp when the liquid filling goes in. Place a 40cm square of foil on top and press the foil down. Then fold the foil inwards like this, so you end up with what looks like a tart case sitting inside another tart case. It's baked on a baking sheet that's preheated with the oven, 190 degrees centigrade, gas mark 5, for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, remove the foil and you can reserve this to use another time. The filling will have 2 eggs and 1 egg yolk which have been whisked together. Then use a little of the beaten egg to give the pastry case a moisture-proof coating. Take a pastry brush and brush the inside of the pastry case all over. Then it goes back into the oven for 8 minutes. While that's happening, whisk 275 ml of double cream into the eggs. Or you can use single cream or milk, and add some freshly milled pepper and not too much salt because of the bacon. And here I've got 125 grams of streaky bacon, which has been grilled until crisp and chopped roughly into thumbnail-sized pieces, and 75 grams of grated Gruyere cheese. But any cheese of your choice can be used. The pastry is now crisp and ready for the filling. Reduce the oven temperature now down to 180 degrees centigrade, which is gas mark 4. It's best to layer the filling, like this, reserving a rounded tablespoon of cheese for the top. And finally, the cream mixture. Finish with a sprinkling of cheese on top. Bake on the baking sheet for 35 minutes until it's golden brown and puffy, and the filling has set in the centre, which you can test with your finger. If it's not set, it will still feel liquid. It's easier to cut if you leave it just to settle for 10 minutes. I want to be able to show you how beautifully wobbly the filling is, and the pastry is still very crisp. Serve the quiche warm, or it's still going to be really good served cold. There are other variations on short crust pastry. In this one we're adding grated strong cheddar cheese, mustard powder and a pinch of cayenne pepper. This is used to make a thick onion tart. Or you can add grated aged Parmigiano Reggiano and mustard powder again to make a creamy smoked salmon and dill tart. To plain short crust, you can also add a sweet filling, as in this English Custard Tart. The filling is single cream and eggs very generously topped with freshly grated nutmeg. And a slice of this is even more luscious, served with clotted cream. There's also something called a sweet flan pastry. This has a crisp, almost biscuit texture. The rubbing in is exactly the same as before, and this time we're adding 40 grams of sifted icing sugar. So bring this all together with a small palette knife. Then add a large egg yolk and a tablespoon of cold water. Continue as before, first using a knife, then your hands, and again rest it for 30 minutes. So here it is, lined and pre-baked as before. It's now a very crisp pastry shell. This is going to be used for a thick lemon tart. So the zest and juice of 5 lemons, 5 large eggs, 150 grams of golden caster sugar and 175 ml of double cream are all whisked together and then just poured into the pastry case. When it's cooked, dust with a little icing sugar and you'll find the sweet, crisp pastry shell with this very lemony filling is the best lemon tart you've ever tasted.